welcome back to another Art and Talk. I hope you're doing well. Today, I wanted to talk about favor in unusual places. I just want to give you some background on me. I'm the type of person who's always been in the background. I'm the type of person who is pretty much invincible. I speak and no one listens, or I contribute an idea and people act like I'm not even there, and then later on they say the idea that I contributed. And I don't say this to complain, or I don't say this to sound overbearing, but I've gotten very used to being no one in my life, and I've gotten very used to not feeling like the main character, or just like not even feeling like my life is really my own. I've gotten used to serving people and not asking for anything in return, which is good in some senses, but in other senses, God tells us to do things so that we can be recognized and so that his glory can shine through us. And there's a Bible verse about that. And so I've just gotten very used to being quiet about the things that I've done. And if you've been listening to my past episodes, I feel like I say this all the time, but I'm part of a group called Social Work Student Association in my university, and I'm the vice president, and so I'm the second highest in command. But I've been doing so much background work this year, and I've been working on an administrative level. I've been working with community partners. I've been starting so many initiatives for the students that have been so quiet and low-key. And recently, I'll tell you a story so that we can kind of come back to this title, but recently I heard from someone that there were a couple of students within the social work student body that were gossiping about me or not talking the best about me. And usually nobody really talks about me because, like I said, I'm pretty much invincible all the time, is what it feels like. No one really notices me. I don't feel like anyone really considers me, so I'm very much invincible most of the time, and I genuinely don't bother anyone. So if to put your mouth on me, like, you have to be super mad, because I don't talk to anyone, which isn't a flex. Like, I think even just being in a position of leadership, I've been telling myself, like, I need to do better. But basically, there was a student who said that they don't feel like I'm worthy enough, or that I'm enough to be the president, because the president is graduating, and so I'm the vice president, which means I'm second in command and I'm gonna be president. And I decided to do co-presidency with our secretary, but the person was basically talking bad about us, and the person said about me specifically that I'm not loud enough, and I don't show my face enough, and I'm not worthy enough to be president. And they want a president that's extroverted. They want a president that everybody knows, and I'm just not that. And the person was also just saying stuff like, I've only ever heard her talk once. Like, I really don't even know who she is. And the past me, the old version of me before I knew God, would have completely crashed out, would have been very defensive about this. But the new version of me, when I heard that information, I took it into consideration, and I listened actively to understand where this person was coming from. And before anybody can critique me, unfortunately, I'm my biggest critic. So before any accusations can be thrown on me, like, I'm already accusing myself of these things, and that's something that I need to work on. But there's nothing that anybody can say about me that I don't already know about myself. And so I've been telling myself at the beginning of the year, I don't talk enough, I don't show my face enough, I don't do enough. And I think sometimes we fall into this pattern of just being super performative and feeling like we always have to be doing something, and we have to be 72 places at once. And God actually talked to me about this, because he was like, I know you say that you don't think you spend enough time with me, and I know you say that you don't think you're doing enough, but it's in the little acts of service, donating your time, donating your words, donating your money, donating your services, your help. Like, it's in those things that you're actually serving me. And serving me doesn't always have to look formal. Doing a good work doesn't always have to be a formal thing. There are so many ways in which you can serve me and do a good thing that I recognize. And so in relation to this, I was like, well, I'm never on camera, well, I'm never speaking to students. But then God reminded me, like, you're creating scholarships for these students, you're opening a food pantry, you're giving to community partners, you're helping the lowly. Like, you're doing a lot, and just because people don't see that the things that you're doing doesn't mean that it's not significant. And so in that moment, the Holy Spirit was just so deeply on me that I couldn't be offended by that. I was just like, I had to think to myself, and in the past I would have really taken in what this person said, but I had to think to myself, like, this person is not with me 24/7. This person has no clue the amount of work that I've put in, the amount of work that I've taken on. And so needless to say, the person just told me that they didn't think I was worthy. And I think what hurt me about that is a part of me believed that was true, and I still struggle with unworthiness or feeling like I'm not doing enough and being super performative or over religious. And so I think what bothered me the most about that is that I felt like there was truth to it. I felt like, am I qualified enough to be the president? Am I qualified enough to take on this role? And if you listen to my past episode, I talked about a project and an initiative that God put on my heart to do that had a big impact. We fed over 200 people. We raised $4,000 and we helped the homeless population. And so God really showed up in that situation. And I started the project, and God made sure that I got the recognition that I deserved for starting that. And usually my work goes unnoticed. Usually my work is attributed to somebody else who had nothing to do with it. But God made sure that my name was known for that. And so throughout the year, I've been working in administrative places, and so my name is starting to get known in high places. And I titled this video "Favor in Unusual Places" because I feel like we always expect favor to show up in one way, or we always expect favor to be given right off the bat, or we have this idea of where we want God to elevate us or where we want God to put us. But sometimes when we're particular individuals such as myself, God knows that the usual ways that we expect favor to show up will not work in our lives. And so he's very strategic and very caring enough to make sure that he positions us in the right places. And for me, he positioned me in a place where maybe the students didn't know my name, but the administrative staff did, and my name is known in such high places, and I sit on such high boards. And I don't say that to boast or to sound boastful, but I want you to know that even if people are not recognizing you on a lowly place, there are rooms that your foot has not even stepped foot in, that God is causing people to know your name. There are doors that are being opened by people you've probably never even met before, but that's because God is causing people to know your name. And I know how it feels to be doing all this work, and I know how it feels to be obedient and constantly striving for the better good of people and never being recognized for it. And I don't do the things that I do to be recognized for, but we're human. Like, it feels nice to get recognition sometimes. It feels nice to get reassurance. And I think what hurts the most is when we hear things contrary to who we've really been being and the way that we've really been walking. But God elevated me not because of who I am, but because of who he is. And I remember when I started to fully recognize where God was taking me, I told God, I was like, thank you for the way that you made me. There is a way that God wired my brain. There's a way that God made me, and I'm just so much like him. We're all so much like him, but in different ways. And for me, the interpersonal, analytical, observant way that God is, I'm just like my dad. I'm just like him. And I had to really thank him for that, because that is what's elevating me to high places. My ability to pay attention to detail, my ability to observe and be aware of other people's feelings, my ability to have meaningful conversations, my ability to show up and be determined and to do exactly what I said I was going to do. That is not something that came from me, but it's the way that God wired me. And so when we feel like we're not enough, or when we feel like we have to continuously perform to become enough, I think it's important to accept the truth that we are beautifully and wonderfully made because of what he did. We're already enough. We've already been accepted. We've already been forgiven. There's nothing that we need to do. There's nothing that we can add on or take off from what God did that will make us any better. And I think when we start to accept the truth that we are enough, we will see the favor in unusual places. We will see the favor with unusual people, like people that we thought we could never have conversations with are asking about us. People who we thought we would never be able to speak to it's telling us our name. We don't have to say, hi, they know your name. And that's only because of the grace of God. And so when people are coming against you, or even when you're coming against yourself, I encourage you to refute every accusation, because God would not put you in this position if you weren't worthy enough to be here. God would not put you in this position if you weren't capable enough to handle what he's throwing at you. And I think it's just a great reminder and a great testament to who God is. Like, even in the midst of our unworthiness or feeling unworthy, even in the midst of people talking about us, like nothing can overthrow the favor of God. Nothing can stop God from blessing people he really wants to bless. And so when you feel like somebody speaking against you is going to stop favor, or when you feel like a mistake that you made is going to stop favor, or when you feel like something that you did or that you failed to do is going to stop favor, I want to encourage you and tell you today, nothing can stop the hand of God. And when we stop paying so much attention to ourselves and start fixing our gaze on Christ, we will recognize that everything has already been done and that God is ultimately sovereign. Whether we're obedient or disobedient, God is still sovereign. We can be disobedient and God will still bless us the way he promised to bless us. And that's not to say to just run rampant and be disobedient and abuse grace, but God is sovereign above all else. His favor rests with him, and so he picks and chooses who he shows that favor to. And so as long as we're being obedient unto Christ, and as long as we're doing the things that he's called us to do, nobody's mouth against us, no accusation from the enemy, no accusation from our own hearts. When our own hearts accuse us, we can take heart because God has overcome the world. And so I encourage you today to keep pushing on, because there's favor waiting for you in unusual places. And I know it's very hard, especially if you've gone unrecognized your whole entire life, to feel like things can finally start panning around for you. But I remember talking to God and I'm like, God, I had the worst high school years of my life, and in university, I'm definitely having my run right now. And God told me I had to pick out of the two. I was either going to sacrifice your university years so you can have good years in high school, or I was going to sacrifice your high school years so you can have good years in university. And God knew the amount of souls that I would be able to touch at a larger scale, so he sacrificed the fun, quote unquote, in high school to give me a position and a place in university. He is so intentional. He is so intentional, and you will find favor in unusual places. So I thank you for listening to this audio today. Thank you for joining me on another Art and Talk, and I hope to see you back here next week.